This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
Yes, we've missed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be totally, honest here about why. There were circumstances, but I'll just have to say that in the past, when things would keep you from being able to do it, I might be able to find somebody else, or I might, just be on top of things and at least let everybody know that we weren't going to do it.
Right.
Well, grief is not for wimps at all. And Nana's been gone for 2 months, and I was doing okay. Felt like I was really kind of, holding it together better. And then it kind of came back with a vengeance. And so when you were going through some things so that you weren't able to do the podcast, I just wasn't able to do much of anything. I can't explain it because, like I said, I was starting to do better, and then it just kind of came back. Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. You just hold my hand. Your hands are freezing.
And yours are warm for once.
For once. It's never this way, is it?
No.
That's so sweet that you just grabbed my hand. Oh.
You're starting to cry, so.
Yeah. I just, it's strange because I think what's happening is we've been talked before about this build that this addition onto the house, and we're in the middle of that now, and all these decisions are being made, and everything that is being decided, that's one thing that keeps coming up, is that these little changes are being made now because she's not here. Like
the bathroom sink.
Yeah, so there was a double sink vanity, and now,
it's going to be a single.
Yeah, because Nana's gone, but Pappy's here,
yeah.
And Pappy said, "I don't need 2 sinks,"
and
so that's been changed, and it seems simple enough, reasonable, rational. I get it.
Emotions aren't rational.
No. And so there's been an awful lot of things like that. And then, I'm in the closet. I'm not in the closet. I'm not in the closet. Well, if I was, so what? But I was in the closet, and Nana's jacket is hanging in there.
Yeah.
And so, she has a lot of them, but this one is really cool that I kept on trying to steal. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's one of the things that you and Nana would do a lot. Would you?
Yeah, I would steal all her stuff. Well, and Bug, your sister, steals my stuff, but I would steal Nana's stuff.
Yes.
Anyway.
And she completely knew about it
she
too.
She did all the time. I know she did. She just told me thief.
And then laugh a little bit.
Yeah. But if she didn't want me to take it, she would say, "No, I like that."
Yeah.
And I'll steal something else. That happening, mm-hmm. where that jacket that she really liked, that I couldn't steal, and then I see that in there, and it occurs to me, that I can now steal it. But it's not. Like I didn't even touch it.
Right.
I saw it, but I don't want to touch it.
Right. From my understanding, that kind of thing, mm-hmm. Now, I don't have a psychology degree or anything like that.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, seen them enough.
Yeah.
But it's my understanding that seeing something like that, you want to preserve what it felt like. And like you want to preserve the memory of Nana having that thing saying, no, I like that one, or thief.
Yeah.
And
right.
And now that
Yeah.
She can't, it's not that you don't want it.
Yeah, right.
It's
I'm not ready to take that next step.
right.
And I was she had really good taste in purses. And so but in December we went shopping, and I told her, I said, okay, I'm gonna get you a purse for Christmas, but you can choose it, but you don't you can't have it till Christmas. So wrapped it up and everything. Anyway, it's brand new because she didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Just a few times.
Right.
And I said to Pappy the other day, I go, hey Pappy, and he's been great. He's like, whatever you want, but I can barely go in that room.
Yeah.
In her room, which I don't know how this is going to happen, because when the build is done, hopefully I get it together, but because that's the master bedroom.
Yeah.
Dad and I were in the master bedroom when they moved in. We moved out and let them have the master, because they have this huge furniture, that headboard that it's just
oh my gosh,
it's ridiculous, really.
Headboard that connects to the shelves, that connects to the dressers, and oh my gosh,
it's humongous. But anyway, so that's going to be our bedroom again, and I'm going to have to change some things around and really. I know that our stuff will be in there again, but I don't know. Anyway, so he said, yeah, I can get the purse. And I didn't even make it into the room. I'm like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah.
So this joke that's always about, she would just joke with me a lot of times. She goes, yeah, you can't wait for me to go so you can have this. Or you can't wait for me to go so you can have that. And it was funny. And it was, we laughed about it a lot. And now that she's not here...
It's not funny.
No, and I don't want her stuff.
Right. You want her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
little therapy session over.
Yeah, yeah. And so what I'm saying is that I haven't done a good job of letting people know about that the podcast wasn't going to happen, because I haven't been doing a very good job of much of anything. So,
it's not necessarily that.
No, I'm really not.
You're not okay right now.
Yeah.
You haven't been. So, yeah.
So, for you, you have had an experience at work that really upset you.
Yeah.
And I'd like for you to talk about that, and then talk about how you got through it. And this whole podcast really is, I shared this about Nana and how this feels right now.
Yeah.
But we just got news a few days ago that a dear family friend passed away. She had brain cancer, and ultimately wasn't able to overcome all that it had done, not only to her brain but to her body. Yeah. She was her name was Patty, but I always called her Patty Melt. Mm-hmm. Your sister always called her Patty Cakes.
Yeah.
And she was her daughter was Bug's best friend in school.
Yes.
So we have been dear friends since or beginning of middle school.
Yeah, of Haley being in middle school. Yeah.
Yes, about seventh grade. Anyway, so it was really difficult. In just a couple months after Nana's gone, losing a dear friend like that is just so difficult, and I feel for her husband and daughter and the rest of the family. But we have a funny story about them. We used to do everything with them. Bug and I.
I'd like to make it clear how long it's been around. It's almost been 20 years since that time. Since we met them and everything.
I think it was,
Haley.
yeah, I think it was about, yeah, I would say like about
almost 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, maybe 15. Cause
I graduated in 2007.
Okay. So anyway, yes. So we did stuff all the time together.
Yeah.
You were in plays, and Bug was in plays, and her daughter that were in school plays. We're in concerts. We're in outside of school events, different things. Every time we always went to Dairy Queen afterwards. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was like the thing that we did. But they were our double date. Your dad and I are double date buddies, and so we went out all the time. We would go to New York. We would take the girls to New York. We saw multiple plays and the Rockettes, and
you saw Little Shop of Horrors up there.
I did, yeah, with them.
Yeah.
And she was a terrible driver. She was awful, and so I had to drive. Because she'd be like, she's the one that taught me, like, I used to get mad at drivers. I don't really get mad at drivers anymore because I realized she wasn't trying intentionally to be a bad driver or to be, rude or something.
Right.
But she would, like, drive, she would, like, the accelerator and brake, accelerator, then brake. And, like, you'd get, and I'm like, okay, get out. I'm driving. This isn't,
Yeah.
But, we went whitewater rafting.
Oh, my gosh.
And
I was, quote unquote, given command of the ship.
Yes, because you wanted to be the captain.
Yeah.
And so when you're whitewater rafting, the people sit on the sides of the raft, and we paddle and we do the things to guide us. But then there's somebody that sits kind of on the back of it that is sitting up higher that can see what's coming and can kind of help everybody else to know which direction to go.
Yeah.
Well, it was our mistake in allowing you to become that captain because you sat back there and barked orders at us and got so mad when we didn't do, like, we were having a great time. It was so fun.
Yeah.
But
I was so focused on making sure that we got through things okay that I was ignoring that.
You forgot to have fun.
Yeah.
And it became like you were so getting so upset, riled up that we were not doing exactly, because we were having a great time. You would say you go to the left. Well, we would try to go to the left, and we didn't want to hit a rock, So we were doing what you said, but it was fun.
Yeah, because
it wasn't like it was a level 5 excursion.
Right. It was nice and easy.
Most of it. Some of it was pretty rough, but yes, it was one of the easiest ones.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Patty
is one of the sweetest.
Oh my gosh, it's really it is one of those things where you think why do these things happen to such good people?
Yeah.
Because she was
so sweet and mellow.
Pure love too.
Yeah.
I mean, funny but anyway, very, very kind and gentle.
Yeah. Never
raised her voice. Was except
on this excursion.
Yeah, which kind of shocked everybody to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So you're barking orders at us.
Mm-hmm.
And we refer to this incident just as the mutiny.
Yes. So at around the same time that Patty Melt essentially lost her cool about the whole thing, Haley and Patty Melt's daughter both decided I'm out and jumped overboard.
They did. Shoes and all. She told me, chucks and all.
Yeah.
So, yep. Yep. Well, there was seriously, you almost went overboard. Because you were so adamant, and which is not surprising.
Right.
You saw there was a discrepancy in the tone in which we were on this adventure.
Yeah.
And the tone in which you were on this adventure. And so for you, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was very serious, and you were in charge, and you were going to tell us what to do.
And for me, on my end of it, it wasn't even about being in charge. It was about making sure that everything was okay. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, you're right. Because I was in the zone, so to speak, I forgot to have fun too, up until the mutiny.
Yes, the mutiny happened,
and I realized what was going on, and I mellowed out a bit, and I wasn't in charge anymore.
Well, you weren't in charge anymore, so you didn't have that responsibility.
Right.
But it wasn't an easy transition for you.
Right.
You know,
right.
Getting fired from captainhood was not something that was easy that day, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
Because the rigid way of thinking, needing us to do exactly what you said when you said it, you can't vary. Well, you're dealing with people that are out there in a raft on the rapids with paddles. We don't know what we're doing. Yeah. We're having fun. Yeah. It's just,
it's a mini vacation thing.
It was so much fun. And yes. And so the two didn't match up. And had I realized, it was my first time, had I realized what that was like as the captain,
with all of that said, one huge thing did come from it.
What?
And that, for me at least, and that is that I learned that I am better off in charge of things and not people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that when that started?
Yeah, that's absolutely when it started. At least the realization for it is that I deal better when it comes to taking care of things like working here at the library, where I am not in charge of other people's actions or what they're supposed to do.
Right.
I am in charge of where the books go. And because of my experience with this whitewater rafting with Patty Melt.
The mutiny.
Yes. The mutiny with finger quotes and all.
All we got to do around here is say the mutiny. We all know what it is. Yes, we all know. What's interesting to me about this is that for those of us that were with you that day, we were not deliberately not doing what you asked.
Right.
And so what made it very difficult and uncomfortable and pushed us all to the limit was that we were trying to do what you said. But you were increasingly getting upset with us. And frustrated
and all that. Yeah. And I was taking it out on you guys.
And so two things were happening at the same time that could have worked together, except for that it's one of those things with you that it's got to be a certain way. And could you understand that we were trying to do it?
After the fact, looking back on it even now, I can absolutely see that I was trying way too hard to make sure everything was okay. And I absolutely misread what I should have been doing.
What would you do different now? Which, by the way, you're never going to be captain if we go whitewater rafting again. This is kind of rhetoric.
What I need to do is remember that if it's the same kind of level of strenuous activity, which for the most part it was just sitting in a boat watching the trees go by and stuff.
Not really, because we had to paddle the direction. Sometimes we really had to work to move out of the way because we were headed for rocks. Yeah. But it was rapids, but not all of it. Some of it was like you say. Some of it was very, very calm and peaceful. Yeah. But then the water was flowing. Yeah. Carrying us down the river. So. Yeah. But it would get real rough again. And we would have to work to head it, a certain way.
Yeah. But
What would you do different now?
One thing I would definitely do is not be the captain, for one.
Right?
For another, I would check with you at the very least to see what kind of activity this is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be one of those things where it's supposed to be laid back, kind of fun attitude, or if it's supposed to be a little bit more serious than that.
Yeah, which was funny because it was so much fun, and all of us together are really we're just very laid back in the whole thing, having a great time, which was why this wonderful, peaceful, gracious person, Patty Melt, yelled at you was shocking, but it's because we were having so much fun, but it kept getting interrupted by your intensity, and you were yelling at us. You were demanding that we did it your way, and it went on and on and on, and it was ruining the trip.
Yeah.
It was ruining the outing. So there had to be a mutiny.
Yeah.
There had to, because it had to stop. And I think that also was Patty Melt's first time seeing you not being able to change the direction you were going.
Yeah.
You could not. Even though we said to you, stop yelling at us. Stop getting upset when it's not going exactly the way you want it to.
Right.
We're having fun.
Yeah.
And
it was really difficult to change gears into that mindset whenever I was in that setting, in that mindset already.
Right. And you were, in high school, so, you've learned a lot since then.
Yeah.
You've really gained an understanding of what works for you and what doesn't. But so when we do a podcast now and people hear you and you're very thoughtful and mindful and aware of how your emotions, but also how you feel in your body and just, how you can do things differently. It wasn't, you've spent a majority of your life not being in this, with this kind of awareness.
Right.
And you really worked to get there. So, so that was, anyway, it was back then you were not able to change your behavior.
Right.
So, anyway, Patty Melt was a dear friend, and we lost her, and it's really, really, really hard to think about her not being around anymore. It's like Bug said. We live. This was in Pennsylvania. We live in Virginia, so we don't, see her. But Bug really was the one always. Every time she went up there, she would go see her. Would talk on the phone, do texts, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was her birthday was in March on St. Patrick's Day. And
that's right. That we always poked fun at her for that, didn't we?
Yeah. So she's named Patty.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Bug had said that even though she didn't see her daily, the thought of not being able to hug her again, or to get those texts, or just the phone calls, whatever, it's just hard.
Yeah.
So we send love and prayers to Patty Melt's family. But it's been difficult.
Yeah.
So we've dealt with that. And so I'd like for you to talk about what happened to you at work.
Okay. This last Friday, I was obviously at work. I was a little over halfway through the day, I believe, and a young man was just leaving the library, and he just turned and started talking to me. And one of the things he said really caught my attention. And he said, "You're the last person I'll ever talk to." And I, as soon as he said it, I guess my eyebrow raised or whatever, and his eyes got real big, and he started saying, "Oh no, you don't have to call the cops or anything." And I didn't really know what to do. I he was pleasant and everything like that, and right after he went out the doors after saying "have a good day" and the pleasantries, I guess. As soon as I couldn't see him through the doors or whatever, I immediately went to my boss Terry and explained what was going on. And I still don't know the kid's name, but what happened after that is Terry went and made a phone call. I went and put some more books away. Then Terry came back and found me and had me give a statement for what had happened. And I was having a good day up to that point.
Yeah.
And it kind of threw off my rhythm a bit for at work.
Well, not only did it throw off your rhythm, though, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
It felt devastating to you.
Yeah.
Because the way that you expressed yourself to me that day was that him saying that, you knew exactly what he was saying.
Yeah.
You knew that he was going to go end his life. You knew that he was not... Him saying you're the last person, you don't just say that to somebody.
Right.
And it was really upsetting to you because he's, what, about 17?
At most, yeah.
Right? And for him to say that to you, you know enough... because we talk about everything.
Yeah.
Right? So that if somebody says something to you like that, those are the kind of things that people say when it's like they call it a red flag. It's that when they might be asking for help without asking for help.
Right.
You know? And sometimes people are just feeling down and they say things like that. They might not even be aware that they're asking for help.
Right.
They just feel so crummy that, you know, that they're just going to they want somebody to know.
Right.
And it was really hard for you. I mean, you went days and days of being so hurt and uncomfortable, and it affected you. Crashed pretty much. It was not, you were not able to move through that. By
the time I went to work on Monday, I had eaten maybe 2 or 3 meals.
Yeah.
From work on Friday.
Right.
And I was not okay the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not function. I could not work up anything to even get out of the house.
Right. Right.
And whenever I went into work on Monday, I was then told that that they, after making a whole bunch of phone calls and everything like that, they found out who the young man was and that he was okay. And that he had actually come in to several times to the library since then. It's since Friday.
Right.
And it I'm happy and relieved that he didn't do anything. But at the same time, I was so stressed out that I could not. I still don't understand why people might think of things like that. I've never understood why suicide is viewed as an acceptable thing at times. Me personally, I don't understand.
Well, you deal with depression, but ending your own life has never been something that's a part of that for you personally.
Correct.
What happens, what happens, I believe, is that sometimes people feel so hopeless, and they can be in so much pain that they feel like ending it would be the best thing. So a lot of times people will think it's the best thing for others as well. Just for them to be gone. For one, they don't want to hurt anymore like they're hurting. They don't see any way out of a situation maybe that they're in.
Right.
And that maybe they could feel like nobody's really going to be affected by them not being around.
Right.
And then the other thing, like I just said, is that they can feel like, well, everybody else will not only will they not miss them, but they'll be better off without them. And so those are things that fortunately you have not felt as part of your depression.
Right.
But it's a very real situation for people. It's something that, I understand. You're saying you don't understand it, but for people that think about that, or people that have done that, it can be an overwhelming pain and hopelessness that just makes it so that, well, let's just not do this anymore. I said that it's not that simple.
Right.
It's not that simple at all. But
I mean, still don't know this kid.
Right.
And just knowing that might be a possibility of what he was doing utterly devastated me.
Right.
I
always point out to you when we're on a podcast, when we're not on a podcast, it doesn't make a difference. At the fact that you have the ability in your life now to connect with others emotionally, like you do, is nothing short of amazing. Again, because when you're a little guy, I was told you would never connect with anybody, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the fact that you feel so deeply, I think that's one thing that you share through the podcast with people, is that somebody on the spectrum, it's not that you don't feel. It's that it's so intense. And for some people, you've found a way to verbalize those feelings.
Yeah.
And to begin to understand your own feelings about it. But for somebody on the spectrum that feels everything so deeply, I think sometimes it's hard to get those words connected to be able to share that, because it's this subject anyway is confusing.
Yeah. I know that it
Well, what's interesting is that when I just said that sometimes people feel like nobody else, it's not going to matter to anybody else. And here it is that a young man that doesn't even know you has had such an impact on you, and he doesn't even know it.
Right.
And so I think that's an experience that happens all the time, every day, that we can affect how other people feel every day.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference. So it's like
I just pictured something. Imagine a pool of water that it's normally flat.
Mm-hmm.
In a rainstorm, whenever a raindrop will hit the water, it'll create a ripple. That will, and every time that a different raindrop hits a different point, creates a ripple. Those ripples are affected by other ripples, and I'm failing to put it into words now, but
they all affect one another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Each point where a raindrop hits could be considered a person. So the ripples that come from those points will affect every other point that it touches.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy.
And whether you know it or not, you do affect everyone around you. Every action you take has an effect. So.
Just like you can see somebody, and their hair is just gorgeous. You can say that. You know.
Yeah.
If you like what they're wearing, you can say that.
Yeah.
You know, if they have a beautiful smile, you can say that. Something about them that's positive.
Yeah.
If you say that, it can really make a difference for people.
I've seen so many times where I get someone's attention and they look guarded or something like that, wary of what I have to say to them. But whenever I do say what I want to say, which usually is, like, as an example, there was a woman at the library who had not quite dreadlocks, but almost, and they were bright blue.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, that is some awesome looking hair. The instant I said, oh, his tail's gone. That's what that is. Einstein is sleeping, but his tail is thumping
Einstein's
again.
having a dream, and his tail is thumping so hard on the floor that it got our attention.
But by the time I finished telling her that her hair is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Her whole face just lit up.
Oh, yeah.
With a smile and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool seeing that happen.
Right.
And it's happened so often with me.
Yeah. You're a kind, loving person. And it's what's interesting is that, so from going to not being able to have a conversation to learn the niceties, such as how are you, means, the answer is fine.
Yeah. I've had to learn that you don't give a life story, so to speak.
Right. Going from that to that lack of understanding to really understanding that the things that you notice you can say out loud, and it has a positive. It has a positive effect.
Yes.
So and you do that often. And so yes, what you do, what you say, how you act, it all makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what other people do. Like the things we've been talking about, like Patty Melt being such a bad driver means that I don't get mad at drivers. Because I know that she didn't mean to do any of that.
Right.
The people that that you talk to, you brighten their day by saying something kind. Yeah. You recognize them, you see them, and you verbalize that.
Yeah.
And this young man, without ever knowing the effect that he had on you, probably, said something that set off a chain of events within the library of people taking this seriously, finding out who he is to see if they could help to make sure he's okay. Yeah. And I think it's really cool, first of all, that you went to your boss and told her about that, and she knows you, so she knows that I'm sure she could tell how much that affected you.
Yeah. And
I'm so grateful that he's okay for now, and that he's coming back into the library, and hopefully, he'll
continue to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think you'll do when you see him again? Because chances are you will, because he comes in a lot.
Right. At the very least, I'll tell him that I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as he had said those words, mm-hmm. from his eyes widening and all that stuff, mm-hmm. and his expression that he had on, yeah. I knew he realized exactly what he had said. With that said, I still don't know if it was because he had said too much or if he had misspoken. Mm-hmm. I hope it was the misspoken part, and that it was just not overreaction, but on our part for the response that we had. Because it's not an overreaction to react like that when you hear that.
Right.
But I hope it was just a misspeech.
Right. Because somebody says something like that, of course that's what you're going to think, because that's exactly what it sounds like. I mean, short of him taking a vow of silence, like he's going to go become a monk or something, so that you're the last person that ever hears him.
Yeah. It might have been, my hope at least, mm-hmm. is that he wasn't finished with the sentence when he realized what it was coming across as.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Well, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah. But at any rate, it really affected you for a number of days.
Yeah.
And what's something, it's funny because you said like for 2 days, like for over the weekend, you only ate 2 to 3 meals. That's okay, right? Like to have 3 meals over the weekend.
I say, no, that included Friday.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
But when I...
So you just
when-
lost your appetite for this.
That's putting it mildly. When I say I had a meal, I had like something absolutely tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you were here and didn't eat much at all.
Yeah.
Which is unusual, because you
Yeah.
usually go into the fridge and...
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're my stock boy. You go into the pantry and take the stuff, the sodas and,
and put them in the fridge.
Stack them in the fridge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. Well,
And to continue with that,
yep.
so on Monday I find out that he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That day was still kind of a blah day because it still didn't sink in that he was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I come into work next day. I'm great. I'm great. And then towards the end was it that day or the next day?
It was that day.
It was that day.
Yeah.
So about 45 minutes at most before the end of my shift that day, I call you for a separate reason, and I find out about that Patty Melt had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh crap! I almost had a whole great day."
Right. Right. There's been a lot of loss.
Yeah.
And a lot of concern over maybe the impending loss of that young man.
Yeah.
So you've been dealing with some heavy stuff.
Yeah. And I will admit, even with COVID going on, the only other real loss that has impacted me was Madame Barn. And that was at the beginning of COVID and wasn't even from COVID.
Right.
So I know that I've been lucky, blessed, whatever, to not have to have that occur much.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot here within a short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Are you sleeping okay?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have difficulty falling asleep a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of normal for you.
Yeah, that's why I said more or less.
Yeah. So it's not because of this, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last night I actually got a full night's sleep, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, you were sleeping here.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Well, please let us know. Like, you do a follow up on this young man, and hopefully you'll get to talk to him, and and if nothing else, he'll feel. You don't necessarily have to talk to him about that.
Right.
But he will feel valued.
Yeah.
Just by the way that you,
Yeah.
Connect with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed is that I have had difficulties remembering what people look like sometimes. Like, I might remember one or two things about their features. Like, I remember this kid was at most 17 because of how he looked. I remember that he was a few inches shorter than me. And I remember 2 other details.
Okay.
But I can't remember exactly what he looks like.
Mm-hmm. Does that happen with people that you know really well, too?
Sort of, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember Nana perfectly.
Yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
and I knew her really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that, yes, I remember easier than others.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always the case. A lot of times, I remember in middle school and high school, if there was ever an incident of something, I would be more often remember the color of their shirt.
Oh, wow.
Or the color of their pants than I would remember who they were because of their face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I had so much difficulty remembering a person's name whenever an issue would come up. Would be because I would more so remember their clothes than I would remember what they looked like. Which is really weird, but...
Yeah. I didn't know that. I remember people's faces, but I'll forget names.
Yeah.
On average, I need to hear somebody's name a few times before it's ever going to stick.
Yeah.
Even our neighbors across the street, I had to ask them, a few times after I forgot your name, but I remember faces, and I can oftentimes remember where I know them from.
Mm-hmm.
But names, I just forget those just about every time. And remembering people's names was very difficult for you. It was something that was kind of like an assignment.
Yeah.
Like you would be told, okay, when you come home today, we're going to ask you what one of your classmates' name is. So find out somebody's name and come home and tell us what their name is.
Yeah.
And that took years. Yeah. Years and years and years to work. Actually, kind of recently. And we would do that. We would do this by. Remember, we would. One of the ways we would get you to connect things like that is through music.
Yeah.
So we'd be listening to music, and I'd ask you, "Who's singing this?"
Yeah.
And what's the name of this song? Yeah. And who's singing this?
Mr. Barnt would do the same thing whenever we were in the truck delivering loads of hay. Uh-huh. A song would come on. He's like, "Who? Do you know this song? And do you know who it's played by?"
Uh-huh. Yeah.
For just about every song, it got to the point where he wouldn't even ask me, and I'd try and bring it up.
That's why you do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. That's funny.
And that started years ago.
It was very helpful.
Yeah.
It really helped you to remember names and so I would recommend doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a family member on the spectrum that where you're at that point where you're trying to remember and make those connections, that's a really good way to do it.
Yeah. Or if they're not much of a music person, or there may be more into history or something like that, try and connect it with something from history. Right.
To be or not to be.
William Shakespeare or Bill. Yeah. Different things like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share today?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Okay. Will you let us know next time about this young man? Hopefully you'll see him again. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much. Did I interrupt you? Were you going to say something?
I'm going to miss Patty Melt.
Yeah. Me too. Just knowing she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her laugh, just... Yep. She's a good human.
Didn't she always collect little pig things?
Not little pigs.
what was it?
Gingerbread. Little gingerbread men.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. She gave one of them to Connor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. She had a huge collection of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and I hope you understand us disappearing for a couple of weeks. Sometimes I try to do better, and sometimes I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, please forgive our lapse there, and so we're glad to be back with you, though.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody listening is healthy and happy, and we're sending you hugs. And if you like what we do, if you like, we're just, we're trying to build this back up. And if you can give us 5 stars, that would be great. If you could share with people that you know about us. The website is sonyaking.com. It's SONYAKING. And, if you go on there, you can listen to us and find us other places as well. There's too many to list. But anyway, so we're so grateful for you. And thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you next week. Love you.
Bye.